I want to share with you how good is this LG C1 black frame insertion for competitive games. What are the advantages? Well, what about 312 frames per second of motion clarity and 312 hertz on an OLED display, which doesn't exist yet, is a lot better than any LCD because there's no artifacts in movement. There's no inverse ghosting, there's no trailing artifacts, double image, crosstalk, none of that. So you get an image that in movement looks perfect. So you can pan the camera this fast, even this fast, and you can still eye track and see the enemies. So this is going to absolutely modify your playstyle. I am not an expert when it comes to multiplayers. Actually, I am a complete beginner, especially with the controller, because I've played mouse and keyboard for shooters all my life. So I've been just playing for 1 year with the controller, but I really enjoy the adaptive triggers, and yeah, I prefer the controller for now. And also I like the controller because I can do this panning movements, and it's a stable panning. With the mouse it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So I am sure that with a mouse, especially if you play like this, you're just slapping people, you're just doing this. If you do that, you're not really gonna see the benefits of this black frame insertion. But I guarantee you, even with a mouse and keyboard, if you start to use this OLED Motion Pro High at 120, you are going to improve and modify your play style, because you will see that now if you actually move the camera a little bit slower, sometimes you can see the transitions. So if you are not used to play with this, you will never pay attention, your eyes will never pay attention when you're moving the camera to the transitions, because it's blurry. If you're playing on a 144 hertz or even 240, it's not gonna look as clear as this. Okay, but what about the input lag, bro? I have to, my input lag needs to be the lowest possible. Okay, and I get it, especially with the mouse and keyboard. The input lag is very important. Bro, 120 frames per second on an OLED which has amazing pixel response. It feels responsive, trust me. Look at this, it is just immediate. Now, can the input lag be better without it? Yes, it is better, and I can see it. It's so minimal, so minimal, and the sacrifice on the motion clarity is gigantic. You are going from 120 to 312. It's almost 3x the motion clarity. It is not worth to get the best input lag. If I go to off, if I change it to off, yes, it is more responsive. I can see it, I can feel it, I can notice it. Especially on this engine, this game is running so fast and so responsive with that NVIDIA ultra low latency boost or whatever it is. It feels so responsive that I can see it. I can see it. This is more responsive without black frame insertion. But man, it's so difficult to notice, so small, and the advantage is so huge in terms of motion clarity. So, but I get it. If you are used to play with mouse and keyboard, and then you're just doing this super fast, and you switch back and forth from Motion Pro High to off, and you are not used to enjoying the transition. So you're not used to eye tracking. You're not used to do this and actually eye track the movement. Then you don't see the benefit, and you will feel the responsiveness. Maybe if you're really picky, you really need to be sensitive to that, you will see the input lag penalty, and then you might think, oh, no way I'm using that Motion Pro. that I would strongly suggest you to give it a try, because it is definitely going to modify the way that you play. Absolutely, 100%. I guarantee you, you will learn to love it, and you will not be able to turn it off. I promise you. If you give this a try, you won't be able to turn it off ever again for any competitive games. I promise you. So yeah, just give it a try. And to get the brightness, you see that the brightness loss is big. What I'm using here is just the native HDR from the game, because it's so bright, it's so amazing. HGIG, the native HDR from the game, and that's enough for me. That's enough. The HDR is amazing on this game. Absolutely amazing. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna use the HDR a lot too. So I'm gonna go back and forth. One day I played, a little bit with HDR, then I'm gonna use black from insertion, because the HDR is so amazing, and that is not common. That is not common. Most of the HDR games are just garbage, or they are broken. This one is just fantastic. You look at this light sources and wow, I'm sure that's clipping on the video. It is bright even with black from insertion, and it just looks fantastic on the shadows. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy the HDR, but I'm gonna also use black from insertion. So just to show you the settings real quick on the for the HDR, let me show you. We just do 0 and 0.73 on this LG C1 and use HGIG. That's it. And the settings I'm using on the game is just 4K 120. We come here to aspect ratio wide 21:9, and then I'm using DLSS on performance with 60% sharpness and high settings. This tessellation, all the terrain memory and the cache settings to ultra, so spot caching, and everything high, so nothing ultra. There are some settings here that I can set to ultra, and NVIDIA on boost for the latency. It is fantastic. Also, in my opinion, for competitive games, you do not want the frame rate to be fluctuating. Not at all. Because competitive is all about muscle memory. Okay? And you cannot develop good muscle memory if the frame rate is just going up and down all the time. So you want to lock the frame rate anyway. And also, using VRR or G-Sync is going to affect the input lag. It is going to have a penalty on the input lag. So if you really want to make sure the input lag is as low as possible, you turn off G-Sync and you want to use 120. Even if the frame rate drops, you will get tearing, but the input lag is gonna be better. Okay, so yeah, that's as far as I know, and this is the best of my knowledge and my expertise. I strongly suggest you to try it, and you won't be able to turn it off. That I can tell you for sure. So yeah, but once in a while, you don't have to, if you're not a pro that always have to have the same setup, exactly the same visuals, you can try, go back and forth like I do. One day I want to enjoy the HDR and it does look fantastic, and one day I want to enjoy the Motion Pro. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. You can also, for example, if you cannot get 120 because of your CPU, for example, you can use 100 with black from insertion. 100 frames per second, OLED Motion Pro high, and I'm locking the frame rate with Riva Turner statistic servers, as you see. So if you cannot get 120, use 100, and that works too. So 100 is gonna give you, if I remember correctly, 260 something, like over 260 frames per second of motion clarity. So that's still very, very good. And it feels responsive. It feels very responsive. So yeah, when I go back to no Motion Pro, it blurs. I cannot eye track. I can no longer eye track. So I am losing completely. Like I cannot do this and eye track. It's blurry. I can no longer see the enemy. So if I am doing this, so let's say I'm moving, there's an enemy here, it's blurry. It's gonna be blurry, I cannot see. So if I'm doing this, moving all the time, moving like this, I cannot see anything. So it doesn't matter that the input lag is a little bit better, I cannot see. So yeah, give it a try if you can. This is very demanding. It requires a $1,000 TV and like $3,000 or $4,000 gaming computer. So I'm selling you a Ferrari here. Okay, but if you have the opportunity, try it and let me know. Let me know how you like that. For me, it's difficult to turn it off, but the HDR is so amazing on this game that I am actually, going back and forth. And for some reason, the game is stuttering now. Yeah, the game performance is not flawless all the time. There are some shader compilation stutters, especially at the beginning. And sometimes when you go to a new area, the frame rate does a hic. But it doesn't happen too often. It's not bothering me so far. And I was playing it yesterday all day long. So yeah, I'm okay with that. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.